Hello, trainers! Professor Palm here, and welcome back to the spooky season. It's crazy to think how much time flies. It feels like just yesterday we started the spooky season, and now we're about to end it. I am sad to end this wonderful season, but I hope you had a wonderful time talking about ghosts and dark-type Pokemon. For the month of October, what kind of movies do you like to watch? I'm definitely a movie person. Do you like to watch some Halloween-themed movies that have a lot of comedy in them, kind of like Hocus Pocus? Or are you more of a horror person and really like those scary movies as well as the slasher movies? For me, I like all movies, but how do you like when your movies end? Do you like when they end on a good note, a bad note, a sour note, or at least a cliffhanger? Sometimes I think it's better when things happen for no What the? What's going on with me? Huh? I swear, I'm not Hello? What's going on with me? I'm not doing this! Am I possessed? What's going on? I feel like I'm on strings! Ah! What is controlling me? Ah! Ugh, what was that? I feel like I wasn't myself for a second. I wonder if those little pranksters are going to show up for what they just did to me. I'm pretty sure it was some Pokemon, and I know exactly what Pokemon they were. Aha! I knew you guys were behind this. Yep, it appears that I was controlled by two Ghost-type Pokemon, and they, of course, are the Puppet Master itself, Banette, and its apprentice, Shuppet. These Pokemon have a little bit of a dangerous sense of humor. They could possibly turn you into a puppet. Maybe not as harmless as it was for me, but trust me, the things that they do can really be horrifying. Well, I guess we found ourselves the best way that we could end this month with some Pokemon that kind of come from some of the fears I've had as a kid. Dolls and puppets. Ugh. After seeing a lot of things with that, it always terrified me. I guess I could also say thanks to both Chucky and Annabelle for giving that fear to me. But then again, I think it is pretty cool that they turned those into Pokemon. So why don't we talk all about these incredible Pokemon? But before we do, if you're a fan of Ghost-type Pokemon, I guess I'm wearing the ultimate Ghost-type shirt. This was made by artist Meow Cat Gifts on Etsy. This is actually their Halloween 2021 shirt, but I thought it would be a great shirt to wear. After all, we're talking about Ghost-type Pokemon. Is one of your favorite Ghost-type Pokemon on the shirt? I would love to know. But if you want to get the shirt, please visit them on Etsy, give them some good business, and tell them Professor Palm sent you. For any Ghost-type lovers out there, this is the best shirt for you. With Halloween just around the corner, I can't wait to see all of the people in my neighborhood dressed in costumes. I also am curious to know, are you going to go trick-or-treating? Well, oh jeez. These Pokemon are looking at me creepily. I really hope they don't put me on strings again. Not again! What am I doing? Okay, I guess they want me to talk about them. And I guess we're gonna start this with the little puppet Pokemon itself, Shuppet! Shuppet, the puppet Pokemon, is based on a hand puppet, mainly the one that you can put your hand into, but you could also see this Pokemon based on a normal puppet or even a sock puppet. But it also has an appearance that's a common depiction of ghosts that people dress up as on Halloween. Mainly the ones where people just use a bed sheet and put two little eye holes. Not eye holes everywhere like Charlie Brown did for his ghost costume. There's a little bit of a joke going on in the Pokemon community, mainly started by the Jaywits, but I'll say it quickly, like how Bill Tull does from the Conan show, how to make a Shuppet. It's very simple. Get yourself a cast form, put a Reaper cloth over it, boom, Shuppet. Shuppet are nocturnal Pokemon, and they really enjoy the darkness all around. It only retreats by vanishing into thin air at the break of dawn, as this Pokemon really hates sunlight. What would you think that Shuppet is the most attracted to? Do you think it likes to steal souls? Do you think it's interested in emotions? Do you think that it really likes to scare people? Or do you think it likes to possess people and take control of them? Well, if you guess that Shuppet are very attracted to emotions, then you win a prize. You see, Shuppet are attracted to negative emotions as well as the dark ones of people and Pokemon. They really like sadness, malice, jealousy, and resentment. In order for Shuppet to grow and get more powerful, it gets it by feasting on these dark emotions. but it doesn't feed on them through the mouth. Instead, it feeds on them through its pointed horn on its head. If you're curious to see how its pointed horn feels, never touch it. By all means, never touch this Pokemon's pointed horn. It's really sensitive. Just think about it as if it was one of your injuries and people kept touching it. Wouldn't that annoy you? Well, that's the same deal for Shuppet. When someone or something touches it, Shuppet gets angry and attacks. Shuppet eating negative emotions may seem dark, but there have been many cases where a visit from a Shuppet can change an entire person's life in just a single night, as some people are very grateful for a Shuppet's presence in their home. If you feel like you've been in a bad place, like you're depressed, or you're holding a grudge, or you feel like you want to hurt someone, well, a visit from a Shuppet can change all of that. They'll eat the negative emotions, and they'll help you so much. I have to say, I think that therapists should keep these Pokemon on hand. After all, they like to help change people, but I think a Shuppet could probably eat all the emotions and tell the therapist everything that's going on. Wow, imagine how many lives Shuppet can change. Since they like being around a lot of negative feelings and emotions, Shuppet tend to live in cities and towns where they can have a good feast during the night. Yep, this Pokemon might be small, but it has quite an appetite. I do have a little bit of a hypothesis about this Pokemon. I think that the more grudges, the darker the emotions are, or more negative the person is, the better the dark emotions they absorb will taste. Again, it's just a hypothesis, but I think that is an interesting way to look at it. Who knows? We'll never get a taste of it for ourselves, but since these Pokemon really enjoy the taste, that is always going to be my thought. Shuppet made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced Challenge episode, Take This House and Shuppet, where a wild Shuppet that was living in the abandoned mansion befriended Max and it helped him make some mischief with his friends as well as with Team Rocket. In the games, if you wish to capture a Shuppet, they're very easy to find as Shuppet live in places where many dark and sorrow emotions are, like in graveyards, as well as creepy places like abandoned houses or even buildings. Oh, and if you manage to catch one in the wild, there is a 5% chance that it might be holding the item, the Spell Tag, which powers up Ghost-type moves. Perfect for a pure Ghost-type like Shuppet itself. Well, what do you know? Our little Shuppet here isn't here to hurt us, do anything bad. All it wants to do is rid us of those horrible emotions. For a better word, it wants us to purge ourselves of all these terrible emotions so it can feed. Wow, pretty good for a little puppet. Keeps us entertained and keeps us happy. But if you want to see a real horror show, I think it's time we move on to the second act. It's time we evolve our little Shuppet into Banette. Yep, here comes the marionette of doom. And trust me, this Pokemon is a freak show. Banette the marionette Pokemon is based on marionettes. For those of you who don't know, marionettes are the puppets that are on strings, but it also is very reminiscent of voodoo dolls. You see, Banette have a habit of sticking pins into their body. Ugh, don't get me started. Really makes me squirm thinking about that. Banette is also based on a cursed doll. You could see it as maybe being Annabelle or maybe even Chucky, but yeah, that's the way I kind of see it. And trust me, this doll is no good guy, and this is not something you want to pass down to your children. The backstory to Banette is actually a pretty creepy story. If you're a big fan of this, well, why don't you go grab a bowl of popcorn and maybe some of your favorite candy. I'm going to be Alvin Schwartz, and it's time to tell scary stories, trainers. A terribly long time ago, there was a nameless child who owned this plushie. Yep, back then, all this was just a simple plushie that could be used to store stuff in, as well as keep secrets, and you could take it to bed. But one day, a nameless child grew tired of this plushie and discarded it. But because of all the energy and everything that had been put on the doll, this doll one day grew life and became angry. The anger that this doll had would not subside until it hunted down the child that discarded it. Well, we'll never know what really happened. We know for a fact that this was once a doll, but there is a happier ending to it. And that happier ending is that if you ever encounter yourself a Banette, treat it well and make it satisfied, then it will become a plushie once again. Whether or not that's true, I really don't want to know, but I think that the moral of the story is we should always treat our plushies with love instead of throwing them out. Because if you really think about it, think about the movie Betty Loves You. Let's not make that happen again in the world of Pokemon. Something that you should also know about Banette is that one thing that does make the story a little bit true of them being discarded dolls is a lot of these Pokemon like to hang out at the junkyard. So yeah, be very careful when you're there because they're ghost-type Pokemon and they also like to lay curses on people. So if you see them in the junkyard, do yourself a favor and maybe try to back away. Or maybe get yourself a Trubbish or Garbodor to do the job for you. Something that you should always know about Banette is that these Pokemon have mouths that are zippered. If they were to open, cursed energy would escape, and you don't know what it would do. It would... Well, to be honest, I have no idea actually. But let's say that I don't want to find out, and I don't think anyone else wants to find out what happens when that cursed energy touches you. Remember earlier I called Banette a freak show? Well, I think that it's time to talk about something this Pokemon does. You see, Banette is a bit of a psychotic Pokemon, as it's really into self-harm, as it generates energy for laying strong curses on people and Pokemon alike by sticking pins into its own body. Well, then again, it is a ghost-type Pokemon, and it may want to get some of the energy to come out of its body since it's trapped within. But then again, it's also possible for ghost-type Pokemon to feel pain, and since this Pokemon always has a smile on its face, it's pretty much into self-mutilation. I don't think you want to stick around to find out what kind of curses that Banette can place on you. The only one that's at the top of my head is the one I saw in the anime, where this Pokemon became a puppet master after turning Ash, Lily, and Kiawe into marionettes. I don't think that anyone would want to become a marionette with your soul still trapped within there and always be controlled by strings. I sadly don't have any Mega Banette plushies as they were very hard to find, but of course I'm not going to ignore Mega Banette as Banette is one of the few Pokemon that's capable of Mega Evolution. Its cursing powers are so strong that Mega Banette will curse its own trainer as well. Since Banette had that zipper holding it back, when the zipper is busted, all of its cursing powers will be spilling out all over, and now it's in control. So yeah, not only will this Pokemon lay curses on anything in the area, but you'll also fall victim to it as well. Sadly, Banette isn't always in that much control when it's Mega Evolved, but just know that now you're going to become its puppet. Banette made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced Battle, Deceit and Assist under the ownership of Harley, who was May's rival. He first used it against May in the Hoenn Grand Festival, only to lose, thankfully, to May. In the games, Banette is a proud member of Elite Four Ghost-type expert Phoebe's team. Also, if you're interested in catching one in the wild, there's a 5% chance that one might be holding a spell tag, which boosts the power of Ghost-type moves, making it a great item for it to have for any Ghost-type Pokemon. Something that I've always wondered about this Pokemon is, does it even have bones in its body, and if it can even feel anything? Of course, I've never gotten a real answer, but that's something that always disturbs me, especially with the zipper mouth, and who knows what's on the inside of this Pokemon. That's one question I'm fine never knowing the answer to. When in battle, Shuppet and Banette, being pure ghost type, have very few weaknesses, and they have very few strengths, which makes them pretty even. But if you want to take them on competitively, never have these Pokemon fight against Dark and Ghost. Yep, as we've said many times before, Ghost type is also weak against itself. Only 2 weaknesses. I wonder what kind of strength it has. Well, as I said, it's even. Why don't we look at what this Pokemon is also strong against and what it's very good for in battle? If you're going to use a Ghost-type Pokemon competitively, well, they're pretty even for strength and weaknesses, only having 2 weaknesses and 2 strengths. So, what are their strengths? Well, why don't we find out? Well, Ghost-type Pokemon are kind of like Dragon-type Pokemon, as they have a weakness as well as a strength to Ghost, aka themselves, and of course, the other strength of pure Ghost-type Pokemon would be Psychic. Yep, there we go again, an even split. 2 weaknesses and 2 strengths. But that's not the only thing this Pokemon has. It also has a couple of immunities. So yeah, if you use those moves on it, you can't hurt them. Why don't we talk all about those? Ghost-type Pokemon are the only current Pokemon without another typing as well as any ability that have 2 immunities. What are they, you may ask? Well, here you go. They are, of course, Normal, and its other immunity, of course, is Fighting. Well, would you look at that? These Pokemon are completely even in strengths, weaknesses, and immunity. 2, 2, 2. I guess that you could order yourselves the 2, 2, 2. 2 pancakes, 2 slices of bacon, and 2 eggs. Somebody having breakfast? Well, this is the perfect Pokemon to take with you. Did you know that Duskull and Dusclops are seen as very parallel to both Shuppet and Banette? Well, here's some interesting facts to know. They're all Ghost-type Pokemon. They both evolve at level 37. Both evolutions have the same base stat total. And they were both introduced in Generation 3 and can be caught at the same place, at Mount Pry. But that's where the similarities end. As you see, in Generation 4, Dusknoir was introduced, giving this line a 3rd stage. While Banette and Shuppet both did not get another evolution, they did achieve a Mega Evolution in Generation 6, making all the similarities end right here. Despite the fact that both Shuppet and Banette levitate, they don't have levitate as their ability, which is kind of strange. So yeah, hit these Pokemon with ground-type moves all you want. It's not an immunity. But for their abilities, they do have 2 other ones. They have Insomnia, which makes a lot of sense. After all, these Pokemon are nocturnal, and after Generation 4, they acquired Frisk, which allows them to see what held items your opponent's holding, which can be very handy for battles. Something you should also know that I find rather interesting about this line is the way that they deal with emotions. One of them likes to eat all the bad emotions and make people feel good, while the other is motivated as well as powered up by negative emotions, where it wants to kill people. Kind of a very strange trade-off. As a kid, and currently the age you are, were you ever terrified of marionettes and puppets? I won't blame you if you were. After seeing what this line can do, it is kind of understandable why puppets as well as marionettes are such terrifying creatures. I've seen enough horror movies to know what happens when these things come too close to you, as well as what they can do to you. I don't want to end up like a puppet on strings, or even have somebody put their hand in me and control me. Ugh, gives me chills just thinking about it. We could sit here all day and judge them on all the negative things they do, but maybe the best thing that we could do is actually look at the positives of them. Well, I do have to say, while Shuppet can get rid of all those negative emotions and make a lot of people as well as Pokemon happy, I guess we could also look at Banette, as it can also lay a lot of terrifying curses on your opponents, and it also spells doom for anybody who crosses your path that you don't like. So yeah, maybe having these Pokemon on your team aren't as bad, and sometimes they can be very entertaining. After all, puppet shows are a lot of fun to watch. If you were to ever see both a Banette and a Shuppet hosting a puppet show, I think the best thing that you should do is walk away, because it's a high chance that you'll lose your soul or you'll become one of their puppets, and yeah, it might be pretty freaky to find out. But I will say one thing though, if you ever tune into their show, it's definitely one puppet show you will never forget.
Oh, hey trainers, welcome back. Sorry to be a little on edge and kind of nervous. I just, as you were gone, these Pokemon turned me again into a puppet. It was not fun. I would suggest to pretty much stay away from these Pokemon as best you can. But if you happen to like this line, then go catch them for all I care. I mean, they could be good on your team, but please be very careful about it. Some Ghost-type Pokemon are very dangerous. Speaking of Ghost-type Pokemon, what do you think about the new Ghost-type dog that we just were introduced to? I love that thing. I'm definitely going to catch one of those things. I'm kind of curious of what it's going to turn into as well. It may become a Ghost Fire type, but I'm also fine with it being just a pure Ghost type. For me, I would love to see that Pokemon become a Cerberus. But again, I'm fine being wrong, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. But if it does, that's awesome! Trainers, I have a confession to make. I lied to you. I said that this was going to be our last episode of the spooky season. Well, I have to be honest. I was saving the best Pokemon for the month of October for Halloween, and I think you might know who it's going to be. Well, in case you don't, here's a giant hint for you! Yep, that's exactly what's happening on Halloween. On Halloween, we're going to be like Danny Phantom, because we're going ghost, and we're going to end the spooky season the scariest way possible. That's right, with Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar, as well as Mega and G-Max Gengar. The entire Gengar line. If it's one of your favorite Pokemon of all time, I hope you tune in to this horror show. Also, if you liked what you saw, please leave a like. If you have any questions, you want to answer any of my questions, or you want me to cover a different Pokemon from time to time, please comment. And as always, if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. The spooky season is about to end, but we're going to end it on a very scary note. Thanks for watching. Palm out!